All right, we're live. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, Sip&Talkers, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back.
Hey, great to be back and diving into this one with you.
I have to start with probably the most outrageous thing I have seen online recently. It sounds like something straight out of a late-night sci-fi movie.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. The rumor is that the top slogan coming out of Beijing isn't, the classic serving the people, but something way more ambitious.
And maybe a little sinister.
Right. Striving to live to 150 years. I mean, could you even imagine that?
It's a fantastic premise. It immediately grabs you because it touches on humanity's oldest dream, or maybe greatest fear.
Exactly. Think about it. If the history books, decades from now, if the leaders we're reading about are the same people our great-grandparents were reading about, that's not history. That feels like we're stuck in a Dracula sequel.
Where the power structure just refuses to die.
Yeah. Is there any actual substance to this, or is it just wild speculation?
Well, you're right to call it sci-fi, but here's the twist, and this is why we have to take it seriously for this deep dive. This isn't just about mortality. It's about massive state investment in biotech.
Okay.
It's about huge questions of political transparency, and it gets into some really explosive ethical debates.
It feels like we're peeling back the curtain on a story that's part Qin Shi Huang, trying to find the elixir of life, and part like a dystopian future straight out of Blade Runner.
That is a perfect way to frame it. What we're really looking at today is what people are calling China's longevity project.
Right.
And it's this strange, often contradictory mix of advanced science and, well, political urban legend. And the reason we're talking about it right now is because of this earthquake moment that happened in September 2025.
Yes.
This one incident almost pushed this whole secret rumor right onto the official record for the entire world to see.
So today we're figuring out if there's a real state-backed plan for, I guess, undying dictators, or if this is all just aspirational biotech talk mixed with a ton of conspiracy theory.
That's our mission for you today. We are going to do a full breakdown of these rumors, separating the official public health goals from the secretive elite stuff. And most importantly, separating real science from the wildest speculation.
Okay, let's start at the beginning, that ignition point, that accidental dialogue. Let's unpack it, because this moment is the foundation for everything that came after. We're talking September 3rd, 2025.
Right. We have to set the scene. This is Beijing. It's a huge, very highly choreographed military parade for the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II.
A huge political display.
It's all about projecting power, projecting stability on a global stage. The optics were completely controlled.
The key figures here were, of course, the Chinese leader and the Russian leader, who was there for the event.
But then you get the classic accident of journalism. As the leaders were walking toward the reviewing stand on the Tiananmen Gate Tower, an interpreter's microphone was just left on.
A hot mic.
Yeah.
The worst nightmare for their media teams.
The absolute worst. And state media, CCTV, was broadcasting this live. So for a moment, this private exchange got picked up and then reported by Reuters, France 24, all the major outlets.
And the conversation itself, even though it was casual, was so revealing. The Chinese leader kicked it off by looking back at history.
And this opening was so key. He apparently used an old Chinese saying about how life used to be short, and then he contrasted it. He said something like, it used to be said that it is rare to live to 70 from ancient times, but now it seems 70 is still just a child.
Wow. Okay, so that's not small talk.
Not at all. That's setting the stage for talking about radical longevity.
He's basically saying the old rules for full life are just. They're gone. And then the Russian leader's response, through his interpreter, just launches it into another stratosphere.
He escalates it immediately. He links this idea directly to technology. He talks about the rapid pace of biotechnology, specifically mentioning continuous organ transplants. And then he goes even further into really speculative territory. The possibility of becoming younger and even achieving immortality.
Immortality. I could just imagine the producers in the control room having a collective heart attack right then.
Oh, absolutely. And then the Chinese leader sort of brings it back to a specific number, a prediction.
Right.
He reportedly finished by saying, some predict that in this century, humans may live to 150 years old. Now, this detail is crucial.
Because he's quoting a prediction, not making a promise.
Exactly. The reports all stressed he was referencing some predictions. It wasn't a policy pledge. It wasn't a scientific claim from him. But the damage was done.
Of course. because the distinction between a quote and a policy just gets lost the second those words are out there, especially from that level of power.
What it did was confirm, undeniably, that two of the world's most powerful men are actively thinking about and discussing extreme longevity as, like, an achievable thing.
A real goal.
And the media handling right after tells you everything. CCTV yanked the live signal almost instantly, and while the agencies reported on it, Reuters later pulled the actual footage.
Which just makes it look even more like they're trying to hide something. A real effort to stuff that genie back in the bottle.
You can't, though, not in the internet age, and the public reaction in China tells that story.
What happened?
It was explosive. Reports showed that searches on WeChat for the phrase 150 years old surged by, get this, 9,650% on that day alone.
Whoa. That's not just curiosity. That means the public was already thinking about this.
Exactly. It shows there were already rumors. And that hot mic comment just instantly connected those whispers to high-level interest. It was a massive confirmation event.
It basically lifted the whole topic out of internet folklore and dropped it right into the political spotlight.
Forcing us to look at the difference between, the national public health strategy for everybody and this secret elite ambition for a few.
Okay, so that hot mic moment really was the ignition switch. Now we have to separate these two very different parts of the longevity project. On one side, you get the official public-facing stuff.
And on the other, this shadow narrative of elite privilege. And this separation is so critical. Let's start with the official story, which is, it's huge. It involves enormous state resources.
This is the National Health Commission state media talking about what they call the longevity era.
Exactly. And the core goal here seems pretty pragmatic. They want to increase the national average life expectancy to 80 years by 2030. It's currently around 79. So this is, on the surface, about collective welfare.
Improving public health for everyone.
Right. And it's tied very heavily to their economic strategy. China is facing a huge demographic challenge with its aging population, just like a lot of other countries.
So this is their way to tackle that and create what they're calling a trillion-level silver economy.
Mm-hmm. An aging population creates massive demand, and the state wants to capture that market. And we're not just talking about, nursing homes.
Right, this is much bigger.
Way bigger. It's advanced pharmaceuticals, AI-enabled health monitoring, personalized diagnostics, smart home tech for the elderly. The 2025 Susemiel Longevity Forum was all about this. It's transparent, it's beneficial, and it's aimed at the whole population.
And it also means a ton of investment in scientific research that helps everyone.
Absolutely. The state is openly prioritizing research into cellular aging, regenerative medicine.
Right.
These are key national priorities, just like AI or semiconductors. So the official project is about stability and economic growth through better public health.
Okay, so that's the public face. National health, a new economic engine. Now let's talk about the shadows, the whispers that give this story its real edge. The 981 health engineering.
This is where we jump from collective strategy to exclusive individual privilege. The 981 health engineering is the core rumor, and it suggests radical life extension, specifically targeting up to 150 years, but only for high-ranking officials.
And it's super secretive.
Highly secretive. Reportedly started around 2005. It operates out of elite medical centers like the Beijing 301 Hospital, which is the big military hospital, and the Military Medical Academy. It's the ultimate insider healthcare system.
So we're talking about leader-level healthcare that's way beyond, even the best private insurance you could get in the West. What's allegedly in this program?
Well, based on analysis from outlets like The Economist, it seems to be about defeating aging through proactive, personalized intervention. It has 3 main features.
Okay.
First, hyper-preventative medicine, so 247 personalized health monitoring. Not just blood pressure, but deep genetic analysis to catch problems years before they'd ever show up as symptoms.
Like having a team constantly watching your personal biological dashboard.
Exactly. Total biological surveillance, but for your own protection. Second, intensive regenerative medicine.
Stem cells.
Lots of stem cell therapies. The idea is to repair and replace damaged tissues and organs before they even fail. So if a kidney shows the tiniest sign of wear, they intervene to bring it back to peak condition.
And the third one brings us back to that hot mic conversation, advanced intervention.
Correct. This is where you get direct access to the most cutting-edge, expensive anti-aging tech. Things like exosomes and GDF-11, which we'll get into. And if regeneration fails, Then you have prioritized organ replacement,
which highlights this huge problem of resource inequality. This isn't just better healthcare. This is funneling a nation's top medical resources to a tiny, tiny group of people.
The inequality is just staggering. Some reports suggest that these special medical services in the big cities get something like 20 times the resources of ordinary community care.
20 times.
Imagine concentrating that much medical power to preserve the biological life of a political elite. It turns longevity into this form of hyper-privilege.
The ultimate health disparity. And the political impact of creating this biological ruling class. I mean, what does that do to a system?
It creates a crisis of generational transition. In any normal system, power transfers because leaders get old. They become frail, they step down, they pass away. That biological turnover is essential for change, for social mobility.
But if you remove that, you risk an eternal status quo.
That's the danger. If technology can basically freeze the aging process for this one small group, the whole political system could just ossify. There's no biological reason for change. It destroys social mobility and entrenches the current leaders forever.
And their decision-making must change, too. If a leader thinks they're going to live for another 70 years.
It changes their whole risk calculus. You become incredibly risk-averse personally, but maybe incredibly slow-moving nationally. Why rush a policy if you have 7 decades to see it through?
And you lose touch.
Completely. If you never experience the needs of the young or the working or the aging population because your own biology is like artificially halted at its peak, you lose the empathy you need for good governance. Longevity becomes a tool to reinforce political control.
That's a terrifying thought.
Yeah.
But before we get totally lost in this dystopia, we have to ask the big question. Is living to 150 even possible? Like, where is the real science on this?
That is the critical pivot point. And if you look at the scientific consensus from journals like Nature Communications, there is an acknowledgement that the theoretical limit for human resilience.
How long our bodies could last if we fixed everything else.
Right. It might be somewhere between 120 and 150 years.
So the number isn't just pulled out of thin air.
It isn't, but the reality check is harsh. We've hit a wall. The verified record is still 122 years. No one has reliably passed that. Getting to 150 requires overcoming fundamental biology, not just, curing cancer.
Right.
I always joke that to hit 150, these leaders have to defeat their political opponents and the second law of thermodynamics. And entropy is, historically undefeated.
The ultimate rival. So let's talk specifics. The 981 rumors mention these very specific technologies. Let's start with exosomes. What are they?
Exosomes are one of the most exciting areas in regenerative medicine. Think of them as your cell's tiny FedEx packages.
Oh.
They're these little vesicles that cells secrete. They carry cargo proteins, RNA, and they travel around the body to repair tissues and promote regeneration. They're the messengers of cellular repair.
The rumors around them are pretty dramatic, though. High concentration injections restore youth in 2 weeks. That sounds like marketing.
That is exactly where science meets marketing hype. Exosomes, especially from younger cells, can promote vessel regeneration and improve functions in animal models.
The 2-week restoration.
That's commercial overexaggeration aimed at wealthy clients. These therapies exist for things like joint repair, even erectile dysfunction, and they're incredibly expensive. But the human clinical trials are focused on safety and specific effects, not some instant fountain of youth.
So the potential is there for targeted repair, but we're not reversing aging overnight. What about the famous youth factor, GDF11?
GDF11 is fascinating. It's a protein that's super abundant in young blood, but it declines dramatically as we age. And this is what inspired all that young blood research, based on a technique called parabiosis.
Oh, this is the one where they connect 2 organisms. It sounds pretty intense.
It is intense. The big work came out of Harvard and Stanford around 2013, 2014. And parabiosis is literally surgically connecting the circulatory systems of an old mouse and a young mouse so they share blood.
Wait, they actually sew 2 mice together?
Yeah, it sounds a bit Frankenstein, I know. But the findings were mind-blowing. The older mice, when they got the young blood, showed significant signs of rejuvenation across multiple systems.
So they were biologically getting younger just from sharing blood.
Exactly. And when they isolated GDF11 from that young blood and gave it to older mice, they saw dramatic results. It reversed age-related heart enlargement, promoted brain neuron regeneration, and even improved memory.
That's incredible. So why isn't there a GDF11 drug that makes everyone younger? What's the catch?
The obstacles are huge. First, you can't do parabiosis on humans, obviously. And second, GDF11 is a really complex protein. Just injecting it can have unintended effects, like maybe even accelerating certain cancers.
Okay.
So companies are working on drugs that target the GDF11 pathway for things like Alzheimer's, but it has to be done very, very carefully. It's not a simple injection.
That makes sense. The science is there, but the safe delivery method is the problem. Okay, quickly, what about senolytics? The zombie cell clearance.
Right. Senescent cells or zombie cells, they're a huge driver of aging. There are cells that have stopped dividing because of stress or damage, but they refuse to die.
They just hang around causing problems.
Exactly. They just hang around screaming inflammatory signals and poisoning the local tissue environment. So senolytic drugs, like PCC1, which has been linked to Chinese biotech firms, are designed to clear these zombie cells out.
And it works in mice.
It's been shown to extend both lifespan and, more importantly, health span in mice. It's one of the most promising areas for extending quality of life.
Okay, now let's get to the study that seems to tie some of this together. The Nanjing University mouse study from 2024.
This is a vital piece of recent evidence, because what the researchers did was they essentially used a concentrated, safer version of young blood. They extracted small, extracellular vesicles, or SEVs, which are basically clean, concentrated exosomes from young mouse plasma.
And they injected these into old mice.
Yep. Weekly injections into 20-month-old male mice. That's about the equivalent of a 70-year-old human.
And the results were stunning, right?
Yeah.
This is what gives some real data to the longevity claims.
They absolutely were. The median lifespan of the mice getting the treatment was extended from 840 days to over 1,000 days. That's a 22.7% increase.
Wow.
They also saw a big extension in maximum lifespan, plus better mitochondrial function, late inflammation, better cognitive function. It was systemic improvement.
A 22% gain is not marginal. That's a huge leap. So this study really confirms the underlying science is real.
It confirms the potential. But the challenge is translating this to humans. You're going from genetically identical mice to diverse humans, finding safe, ethical donor sources, figuring out dosage over decades. The hurdles are immense.
So to sum up the science, the 150-year goal is still theoretical, but the technologies that are rumored to be in this elite program, they're rooted in real cutting-edge science.
That's my takeaway. Even if we solve organ replacement, even if we defeat most age-related diseases, which is a massive if, current science suggests that the brain's own decay, the slow collapse of cognitive function, that remains the ultimate limiter. You can replace all the parts of the house, but if the operating system crashes, it's over.
That is a crucial distinction. Okay, now we have to turn to the darkest, most serious part of this whole discussion, the ethical black box. This is where this pursuit of elite longevity could collide with, well, fundamental human rights.
It's a necessary transition because the second you shift from talking about cellular repair to organ replacement, the ethics get incredibly politicized. And we have to report objectively on the really disturbing allegations that surround this.
Let's link it back to the hot mic moment. The Russian leader specifically said, organs can be continuously transplanted. That puts the whole issue of organ supply right under the microscope.
It does. And this is where you see this huge paradox in the official story. China officially says it has a completely voluntary organ donation system.
Right.
But international medical observers, including publications like The Lancet, have consistently questioned the data and specifically the speed of organ matching.
The speed has always been the red flag, hasn't it? I mean, in the US or Europe, waiting for a heart or a kidney can take years.
Years. But historically, reports have suggested wait times in China as short as 1 to 2 weeks for a perfectly matched organ. And it's nearly impossible to achieve with a truly voluntary random matching system.
It suggests the supply is being driven by demand, not the other way around.
It suggests an institutional system of supply. And if a program like the rumored 981 engineering is real and it aims for 150 years through replacement, well, that program depends on a vast, guaranteed, on-demand supply chain of healthy organs.
And that's the ethical nightmare scenario.
It is. If elite technology relies on instant organ availability, it risks turning the human body into a parts warehouse for the political elite. And that just catastrophically contradicts the public ethics of a community of shared future for mankind that these same leaders talk about.
Now, we have to address the most serious allegations that have been around for years, supported by numerous international reports.
Yeah.
Forced organ harvesting.
This is a heavy topic, and we approach it by reporting on the claims made by international organizations, groups like Human Rights Watch, UN rapporteurs, other investigation bodies. They've estimated the Chinese organ transplant industry is worth a staggering $9 to $10 billion a year.
And the allegations are very specific about where that supply chain comes from.
They are. The allegations consistently assert that the primary source of organs is from unwilling minority and persecuted groups. Falun Gong practitioners, Uyghurs, Tibetans, Christians.
Oh, man.
The accusation is that these individuals are subject to on-demand killing to maintain those short wait times. These claims are supported by investigation reports and defector testimonies, though the Chinese government vehemently denies all of it.
And when you connect those shocking allegations back to the 9-1 engineering rumors, the implication is just.
The accusation is that an elite longevity project, which would require the absolute lowest possible rejection risk, would rely specifically on young, healthy organs, sometimes allegedly sourced from these unwilling groups. It suggests that the quest for biological extension for a select few could rely on the coerced premature death of others.
That just changes the entire conversation. It's not about scientific advancement anymore. It's a terrifying ethical failure. If those allegations are true, then living to 150 would be built on what international bodies might call crimes against humanity.
It raises the stakes to the highest possible level. When you look at the resources being poured into extending life for a few, and you juxtapose that with these widely reported allegations, it forces you to confront the highest stakes of power and ethics. The lack of transparency just fuels the darkest conclusions.
This has been so complex. We've gone from mouse studies to global billion-dollar ethical crises. To give you, the listener, the full picture, we need to try and balance these two competing narratives.
Right. You have to acknowledge both the potential and the darkness. We can frame it as a choice between the red envelope of progress and the red flag of warning.
Okay.
On the positive developmental side, this could be an anti-aging revolution. If China really commits these massive resources and has a breakthrough in biopharma, they could potentially help solve the global aging crisis. If that tech eventually becomes available to everyone, that's a huge benefit for humanity.
That's the hopeful, ideal scenario.
Mm-hmm.
But the skeptic's view is much, much darker.
The negative narrative calls it a new Qin Shi Huang dream. It's the risk when the pursuit of individual immortality combines with authoritarian power. You get undying dictators, unaccountable power that never gives up control. And if the means to get there involve illicit activities, it's an ethical disaster.
It's so striking, the historical parallels. We look back at ancient emperors trying to live forever by drinking mercury, and we call it superstition.
Exactly. And yet modern leaders are pursuing the same goal, driven by the same fear of death. They've just replaced the mercury and the elixirs with advanced biotechnology, stem cells, exosomes, incredibly expensive interventions. The core driver is still that fear.
So if we strip away all the rumors and look at the facts, where does the truth probably land?
The cold, rational reality is that this longevity project is a mixture of national strategy and black box rumors. The state-led research for public health, pushing life expectancy to 80, that's real. But the 150-year elite goal, it remains scientifically dubious and profoundly compromised by resource hoarding and these huge transparency issues.
Especially around the organ supply chain.
Exactly. It's ambition mixed with profound ethical risk. And now I want to pose a final provocative thought for you and for all our listeners.
Okay, hit me.
Imagine you're a cold, rational broadcaster. If you could live to 150 through all these revolutionary therapies, but the one condition was you had to maintain a purely cold, rational, objective broadcasting personality for all 150 years, would you do it?
Oh, that's terrible. That is an easy no for me. I would probably die of sheer boredom by age 50. I would much rather live 80 years and keep my sense of humor, my messy personality, my flaws. What's the point of living that long if you have to trade away your humanity to do it?
That's a fantastic answer, because it reminds us the goal should always be the quality of life, the vitality of the human spirit, not just the number of years you clock.
That is the critical takeaway here. The pursuit of longevity isn't inherently wrong. We all want to delay suffering and death. But the entire ethical question is in the distribution and the means. If extending one life requires stripping life from others, that longevity is just another form of death and political oppression.
And our mission here is always to report objectively on the facts and the serious rumors we find, to encourage you to think critically in this age of information overload. We're sharing data from international reporting. We are not endorsing any political viewpoints. And a quick disclaimer.
Yep.
We are absolutely not investment experts, so please take any mention of biotech companies as data points only.
We want to thank you all for joining us for this deep and frankly pretty heavy discussion today. It is so vital to explore these convergences of science, power, and ethics.
A warm sign-off from me as well. We're thrilled you took this journey with us. Please remember to subscribe to the Sip and Talk podcast wherever you listen. And hey, check out our old friend Micky's YouTube channel, Micky to Life, for some fun memes and the latest travel vlogs.
We'll see you next time.